So we as InfStones also welcome any collaboration opportunities, and so that we can support each other and grow all together. So for those you don't want to be a super node, that you don't want to host any nodes or run a node, but you are a token holder. You own these tokens and you want to find the best way to invest these tokens. What do you want to do? How can you best invest these tokens? Then the next panel is for you. Stay for now. Let's welcome Steve from Top Network, Dr. Dong Mo from Celer, Dr. Stephen from Harmony, Jin Jia from HashFuture, and Jun Jia from QuarkChain, and Celer from InfStones.
Right. Thank you, Emily, and welcome to the stakeholder panel. And we're fortunate enough to have a tremendous panel of business leaders in our industry. So let's get right to it and dive deep to our topic. So from our previous panel, we have learned so many ins and outs of how you operate a nodes and what would qualify you as a node. But please allow me to recap some points from John's presentation earlier. Is that the market cap of proof of stake is skyrocketing right now. So you might be interested in to know the reasons behind the trend from shifting from POW to POS. So here's a question for our panel: is that what's motivating your team to incorporate proof of stake into your blockchain or your platform instead of POW? So, oh yeah, please. Sorry.
Hi, my name is Jun Jia. I lead the engineering development in QuarkChain. QuarkChain is doing scalable blockchain stuff using sharding. They want to build a heterogeneous blockchain, which means shards can be different using different consensus and VM stuff like that. And I think I am the contrarian here because we are actually running POW with the minor tweaks on the consensus, so it has a flavor of POS. And the combination of this consensus seems very fascinating to me. And I think it's a benefit to join this talk.
Hello everyone, I'm Jim from HashFuture. HashFuture is focusing on blockchain application layer. We have launched several projects like HashWorld and also the RibEX for blockchain gaming and also the real estate tokenization. And as for POW and POS, we are application layer, so we are not doing our we are not have our main chain, so we are not using POW or POS. But for myself, I think POS is better because I can stake and get money.
Hi everyone, I'm Mo from Celer, and we are a layer 2 scaling platform. We're not a blockchain, right? So you might wonder why I'm even here this time, because just like layer 1 blockchain systems, layer 2 scaling system also need crypto economic incentive to run. Okay, so maybe from a very high level, layer 2 scaling systems are having or making a very optimistic assumption about the system of the blockchain, of the interaction of the nodes. And at the same time, it needs certain layers to kind of safeguard the system so that when the optimistic assumption fails, we still have the full 100% security guarantee of the underlying blockchain. And that is where the staking comes from. And that is where we need something called state guardian network to guard the off-chain state for the users and secure that in the layer 2 construct. So we're actually the first one launching the layer 2 scaling platform with a staking mechanism, and actually we're the world's first one launching generalized channel network very soon next month on July 8th. So that's a quick intro, I guess.
Hi everyone, my name is Stephen, Harmony CEO and the founder. We're very excited to be here. We see lots of friends and other folks from the Binance family, which is super excited to be the last project to be joining the Binance family, to be talking about this opportunity to come out. It's really perfect time. Our project have been working towards the mainnet for the longest time, and all this marketing and listing, launchpad, and the mainnet really collide to be around the same time to be talking to our node operators as well to talk about all this listing. Harmony want to position ourselves to be a data sharing platform. We think that one of the biggest use of blockchain will be really understanding the digital data and the data economy of the future. So for us to position ourselves, thinking about what it is to be sharing data, is really the question about between two businesses, how they distrust each other, but actually want to share more data, how consumers want to fight with the big companies, but they actually want to use a company's product. So all these trust problems is what Harmony want to solve for the future. And we want to build it on top of a scalable blockchain, a public blockchain. In particular, we position ourselves to be the first production blockchain to be coming out with both proof of stake and sharding. As many of you may know, Ethereum 2.0 have been talking for the longest time, and the two of the biggest things that they come out to be coming out is proof of stake and sharding. So hopefully this is the right direction. We're taking a big bet that it has to go proof of stake of the future. Sharding has to be the right approach to be scalable. So these are big bets that hopefully that Harmony have a chance to be proving out in the production system very soon.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Steve, CEO of Top Little. So basically, we are doing two things. One is we are building a decentralized communication network. And before this, my blockchain project, I have been in the communication business for like over 20 years. Built many communication apps like WebEx, web conference. I built a messenger app with 50 million users. And we have a VPN with like over 20 million users. So I did many communication business, and we realized communication should be decentralized. So we want to build a platform, a network, a public network for everyone can build a communication app on top of that. Yeah. So that's a service layer, decentralized communication network. But later, we are also building a really high performance blockchain platform. It's a general purpose blockchain platform. Also support the sharding, PoS like Harmony. But we come to the public blockchain from different angle because our communication business has so high volume, every second we need to process like several millions transactions. And you have to really high performance, the blockchain, the ledger. And you have to have a very special token economy. For example, there's no transaction fee. Think of it, if you have a transaction fee, process several million transactions per second, how is the amount of the transaction fee? So we have to implement a very different way of the blockchain platform. Has to be very fast, has to be zero transaction, and so the host asked, why you need the POW? Because the POW really cannot support that. You cannot support the sharding, cannot support high performance and zero transaction fee. And we are going to launch the mainnet next month. And InfStones is our strategic partners. They are helping us design the token economy and the staking economy. It's a very challenging. Actually, it's a very challenging because you need to care about the security and the economic side. As I said, you have to be zero transaction for our business. However, what's the incentive for the node? The validator, right? And you need to care about the inflation. The inflation cannot be very high. Otherwise dilute the current token holder. So it's a very challenging task. I spent the past 3 months on that. After the Huobi Prime, we were the first one Huobi Prime, and my community said, "Hey, Steve, you disappeared after the Prime list." Actually, I spent most time on the developer side and the token economic side. It's a very challenging task, but we are close to release that. Thank you.
Yeah, I can imagine because I've been working on economic models for the past year, so I know a healthy POS ecosystem is really important for a chain to keep developing. So my next question is that what do you see are the benefits of staking in your ecosystem?
Okay. So POW is secured by the computing power, right? And POS has to be secured by the stake. I mean, the money, yeah. And the high ratio, the higher of the ratio, the more secure of the network. So, for example, if we need to prevent the 51% attack, we need to have over 51% of tokens staked in the chain. And if you can do that, the chain will be very, very secure. Theoretically, nobody can attack you. And the POW, because it's very open, people can join the mining machines quickly, so they can launch the attack easily. But the challenge of POS, of course, how to attract so many token holders and get over 51% stake. It's a challenging task, especially in the beginning phase, because people still don't have the consensus or don't believe you. But I would say it takes time.
I think the question goes back to what are the benefits of the people in the community compared to the POW, now that it's POS, right? And to be honest, when I started all these design and white paper last year, I thought it would be POW, because I just couldn't figure out all these incentive mechanism, inflation, economics. There's no chance that you can do the sharding and design POS at that time. Luckily, many of the projects really mature and understand the trade-off now. For Harmony to pick why POS instead of POW, it's very clear that POW was the right answer 10 years ago, if not the right answer even 2 years ago. Because at that time, people still don't understand, other than POW, how to secure the system. There's no way to talk about how to have the Bitcoin money, if not the Ethereum money, and then now injecting all the assets and money into a new network system, than asking all the people to buy a few CPU, GPU, and ASIC to run your system, right? So again, before the security of a new protocol was based on just hardware. Now it's very clear that whether Ethereum or Bitcoin can be your underlying asset, right? For new project now, by the time whether you're doing a launchpad or doing a listing or even holding the stake of many of the tokens, your underlying asset is whatever you are raised in IEO or ICO, that you have 20 millions or like you have lots of investors that are sticking into it. Bitcoin, when you start it, doesn't have like 20 million to start. So wherever that holding of the asset in your network is your stakes already. So coming back is really becoming the execution of the security of the network now. So we just need to make sure that the inflation makes sense to the stakers to be part of the system now. So that's why we don't need to worry about having the fight with the hardware, with the miners, but having these stakers that they hold your asset ready to be slashed if they don't provide the values.
Thanks. Well, being the only project in the room that is running on layer 2, so just let me share a little bit on, how does proof of stake with quotes in layer 2 work. So in layer 2, the proof of stake works very, very differently from the layer 1 proof of stake. In layer 1, in the end, the proof of stake is to help the network validate the transactions and include that transaction into blocks, include into shard and all that stuff, right? So, but in layer 2, it's not exactly the proof of stake in the layer 1 sense, but it is providing incentive and for the security guarding of the layer 2 system. So why do we need anything secure guarding in layer 2? Well, any of you know about Lightning networks? Lightning networks? Raise hand? Yeah, all of them, right? Okay, all of you guys. Okay, awesome. So in Lightning networks, you have this concept where you can do off-chain payments, right? So you can basically send payment off-chain in layer 2 instantly without any kind of on-chain transaction fee. That's awesome. But at the same time, where are all these transactions stored? It's only stored and exist in your local phone or local nodes or local kind of servers, right? So it's in your system. So it provides additional benefit of privacy, but also raises the question, if you go offline, let's say if one node in the system goes offline, you're the recipient of some payment, let's say. Your counterparty can can monitor that, oh, this guy's offline, so I might just submit a older state channel proof to the blockchain to settle the state channel, right? So you open the state channel on the first layer blockchain, and then you do all these transactions on the second layer blockchain, and then you have this process to settle the transaction on the first layer blockchain. And a malicious node can have the potential incentive to settle based on a old but still valid state proof, right? So that's kind of like the mechanism of how layer 2 works. Now, to solve that problem, there's so this does not only happen in state channel network. In sidechains, in this kind of a plasma-based or even proof-of-stake-based sidechains, to prove that some staker in the sidechain is actually acting maliciously, you also need the exact same kind of a watchtower mechanism to to be able to secure the layer 2 transactions. Right, so that's where Celer's token and Celer's crypto economic construct comes in, where you can run these watchtowers as a special kind of sidechain by staking Celer token into that sidechain and provide the work to monitor and store state and respond to potentially malicious challenges for the users of the network, and at the same time gain service fees. So it's again a same kind of like work token mechanism where you have you stake the Celer token into the sidechain and you do the work and you get income. So that is how the layer 2 staking in general works. But in the end of the day, it's all crypto economic incentive design and game theoretical design, and they share a lot of commonality there. But that's just kind of a perspective on how layer 2 staking, not exactly proof of work, but like a proof of stake, but staking in general works.
For the benefits of community, it's very interesting question that who should get the block generation reward? The block generation reward is given to protect the chain and also make the apps running on it safe and very stable. So if the PoS is is faster and more stable than the POW mechanism, I think the block generation reward should be given to the stakeholders because they hold the coins they believe in this community, and they do a lot of work they do a lot of work for the community, and then they hold their tokens and they stake their tokens, and then they can get a reward by the block generation. I think it's a fair problem. And also, for the POS and POW, I think it's very important to see which one is the future to serve the app and also the application layer, because the community and also the blockchain's value is based on what it can do for the community and also for the outsiders to prove its value. So for the application layer, which blockchain is faster and which one is safer and which one can help them to earn more money, they will choose this kind of the chain to develop and also to build this ecosystem. So I think for the community member and also for the app developers, maybe POS is the future.
To answer this question, why staking? It will touch a little bit of our design, the history of our protocol design. So if you are a hardcore crypto fan, buckle up. The thing is, at the very beginning, we are designing our sharding scheme as a root chain or as beacon chain in ETH 2.0 or Harmony, and shard chains together. The first design choice we made is all of them running POW. The obvious concern you have is hash power dilution. That is, it's very easy for you to attack a single shard. Even in our design, you have to attack both the shard chain and the root chain, but it requires significantly less hash power, which is 30% you can attack the transaction, attack the network. So the first time we seriously considering POS is how about we keep using POW for the root chain, then we run in the shard chain using POS. In that sense, all the hash power are concentrated on the root chain. which means to attack you still need 50% hash power, and the shard chain can run transactions very efficiently. And at that time, the thing is we are somehow POW hardcore fans because we all know every attacking vector of POW because it's run for 10 years. It's on Bitcoin forever. While POS, there's no really mature system, really mature blockchain that can solve any problem, any attacking vector there's no perfect solution there. So except just go for into the POS design, we figure out a way just to adding a POS flavor into our POW consensus. That is, okay, in POW, you have a parameter called difficulty. So which means you have the hash power, you run some random number thing to solve a puzzle, and if it fits the difficulty, that's a valid block. Okay. How about we make this difficulty number proportional to the stake you have in your Coinbase address? Which means if you have more stake in your miner address, you probably can lower the difficulty, means effectively increasing your hash power. In that sense, miners are more incentivized to stake more. While this approach will make sure that the attacking cost of purely POW, hash power 51% attack, actually higher because you have to sacrifice maybe the value of the tokens. So in an in-game theoretical way, if nobody's joining this game, okay, nobody's staking, everyone's mining on their own mining rigs. Nobody has any benefit. It's still POW chain. But if everyone's joining the game and everyone's fully, staking to the maximum, still it's a POW game because everyone has effectively the same hash power. So the thing is, we haven't done rigorous proof, but the thing is that the equilibrium for the situation would be for individual miner to attack the network with this POS flavored POW, you actually have to cost more combining the hash power and the valuable stakes. So as simple as the introduction of the slashing condition, the network security is actually enhanced by introducing this kind of POS approach. So for us, POS is just a design approach for us to ensure a better network security. I think we kind of nailed it.
Okay. So would you mind sharing if you have seen a lot of POW miners participating in POS on blockchain?
Like I said, it's a funny thing because we really don't know how miners will behave. And that's why we launched our mainnet April 30th, and without enabling any transaction. The only thing we want to know, we want to figure out is how miners will react to our design. We have 8 shards. Each of them have different parameters for the POS. For the consensus we call proof of stake work, so which is the POS flavor POW. They have different parameters, which dictates how much token the miner should stake to enjoy such the benefit of lowering the difficulty. We have different parameters for all 8 chains because we want to behave how the miners will allocate their hash power. Will they actually mine put all their hash power to mine the specific shard, or just distribute evenly across all the shards? So the thing is, we're using sharding as an A/B testing framework to actually know the behavior of all the miners, how they react to the consensus change. But we think as a equilibrium, as I said, probably people still will begin staking because you will have the benefit of actually increasing hash power. So why not, right?
Yeah, that's great. So next question for the panel. So we've been touching on the staking ratios and the reward ratios for the POS validators. So do you think there is an ideal staking ratio on the blockchain, or do you foresee if too many people participating in the POS staking, that would be a problem for the chain?
Yeah, I'll make it short because we have 8 shards. We're running A/B testing essentially, and I think that's the answer we probably can answer in a really short time because we want to observe what's the real behavior of the miners, how they react to different parameters, and have an idea on the actual, is there even existing a real ideal solution. But I think having this approach to the A/B testing is a really great tool for us.
In my view, I think there should be a proper ratio of staking because if the ratio is too high, the liquidity of the coins may be limited. But if the ratio is too low, it means that it will easily be attacked, and also the mechanism doesn't attract the community. So I think proper ratio is very important for the token economy.
Yeah, ratio question. So I actually asked like almost all like founders that who are like using POS mechanism, including Vitalik himself and a bunch of other guys. The answer has been I think it's more of a governance question than a kind of a design or engineer design question. We tend to kind of not agree very much. Because I think if you really look at the staking ratio question, that is basically the reward ratio, right? So it becomes a very, very interesting combination of a one-shot game versus repeated game cycle construct, right? So in one-shot game, you all, let's say it is just kind of like we're staking for 1 day, and after that day, everyone can kind of stake for, sell whatever they have. Everyone is probably going to say that, oh, during that day, give us all the reward you can. Right, so that's kind of like the incentive structure there. But if you, kind of put the time horizon a little bit longer, that introduce something like a snapshot, like introducing something like a, kind of a work log that the Cypher, folks are using right now, the game cycle dynamically changes drastically. That it kind of pushes away from just kind of the higher ratio, the better kind of a dynamic or equilibrium. And that's something that can be analyzed, and that's something that has been analyzed before. And we have this great chance in blockchain today where these kind of mechanisms can be written in code and therefore can be very, very reliably quantitatively analyzed. But at the same time, it's not a fully closed system because you also have like fluctuation of the market, speculation of the entire market, and the trend of the crypto, sentiment and all that stuff. All that externality is also feeding into this. So, in my opinion, reward ratio should be something that we can kind of, find a first cut or kind of an initial value based on some good analysis. And then from then on, that becomes more of a governance issue that can be dynamically adjusted, accounting for all the externality of the economic incentives.
Yeah, I strongly agree with Mo's point about being an open market, if not compared to the price of the token. What happened is, this is talking about the inflation rate. This is talking about the block reward in real-term money, right? Just like Bitcoin, wherever the miners have the money to go around the world collecting cheap energy, or the Bitcoin price, or the ASAP price, this is market force at work. And it's not just about your own token price at work, or whatever inflation rate you decide to be, or the participation ratio you decide to be. We are literally talking about the global currency, right? What is the price of USD versus RMB versus Bitcoin price versus your token price at play? Because if you don't look at that, then that just means no one is going to be running your network, sticking your network at all. So we are very strongly competing among all the proof-of-stake networks, among all the other people securing other blockchain to be competitive. We were just talking to Cosmo about their launch. Just 6 months ago, everyone was getting excited about Cosmo launch. Every staking as a service provider is talking to Cosmo about how it works. Now it's the opposite. So many new proof-of-stake network project mainnet launching. It's impossible even to get the attention of no operators, right? There are literally easily 10 projects to choose from, whether Tesla or just EOS. You don't need to be saying this is the right model, but Tesla in the system. So all these is why we are actually just calculating. It's really a dynamic network market price that we'll be adjusting. We decided to be like 6% inflation rate and 15% annualized ratio that we simulated, but this is just the research that we have done looking at all the great projects all around this room, but also Cosmo and other projects to know what are the reasonable range that we need to be in. But at least one factor that we want Harmony to push to the extreme is the number of node operators in our system. So most people are playing with different way of rewarding the people. For Harmony, we want to push all the way of how many people will be running our network. We want to be as open, permissionless, as extreme as what Bitcoin and Ethereum has done. I'm talking about like 10,000 machines, 10,000 operators, if not at one point 50,000 machines. If not behind the pool, could have been 100,000 machines. Because I strongly believe if you can solve that engineering problem, technical problem of, let's say, 50, 100,000 machines, the system now is very robust. Anyone can participate, anyone can join and leave. It's not about the number of shards and economics, but the openness of the network. So that's one thing that we'll strongly push. So we're going to launch with 800 MOOCs, hopefully this month. Hopefully towards the year, we'll have 1,000, if not closer to 1,500, to be really pushing the envelope. Can we get back to the Bitcoin Ethereum game that literally anyone, instead of 21 nodes of EOS, we are literally benefiting like far more people. Anyone can just jump in and off, could be just jump in for a day or two, that level of participation. And regarding to all this ratio, more people take it out, now that become a sticking, more of a store of value, or compared to most people actually using the token, which is not sticking, that become a utility token, we are thinking a lot about that too.
I would like to ask a question to the audience. Under what kind of condition you would like to stake your token? If say you are, let's say you have 100 tokens, and what condition will attract you to stake your token? Anybody?
100% ROI.
100% ROI. That's good.
The stable price.
100% is obviously very high, huh? Yeah. Anybody has more reasonable line, say 20%, I will stake my token.
If I have like different types of token and too many, I don't want to dilute my effort to consider like which kind of token I want to sell every day. So I will stake as like additional income because I don't have time to consider.
Okay, that's good. Sunny, how about you?
Liquidity also. If by staking token at the same time having the liquidity, that would be good.
Okay, so you still keep the liquidity, right? Then how about the return? You 10%, 5%, or 20%, he said 100%.
The higher the better.
Yeah, this is actually related to a question I would like to ask our panel. So
okay.
yeah, I want to kick things off a little bit and have you guys to discuss this topic. So if I have like opportunity for you to invest in a token, so what characteristic of this token would make you think that I want to stake this token, I want to invest instead of just sell? Just the characteristics, no names.
Yeah, so you were asking the ratios. Yeah, you're right. Actually, I'm asking myself when I designed the staking economics 3 months ago. Under what condition? Because I have many tokens, I will stake. Yeah. Okay. Of course, return first, right? You say 100% is 20 maybe, but I think reasonable. You need to beat a lot of token lending providers. They offer like 10%, right? Yeah. Of course, the lending has some risk. Maybe this guy run away and you principal loss, right? So secondly, you need to keep it safe. Yeah. So I definitely object the slash. Like Cosmos, they have a slashing, right? And they even slash normal delegators. If you stake 100 tokens, if the node doing some evil things, the node get slashed and the delegators, they also get slashed. That's bad because it means the principal will lose. Yeah. For an average token holder, I stake you, I don't want to lose my principal, right? I want to get a return safe and like Sanjay said, keep liquidity. Yeah. So in our design, we don't like the slashing. Okay, you can slash the deposit because the deposit is made by the validator, not the delegator, right? Yeah. So principal need to safe and return need to be reasonable high, right? Yeah. And liquidity means you cannot lock the token too long. Yeah. For example, say like I can withdraw the token in 5 days or maybe 2 days. Yeah. Not like 3 months. So all those kind of conditions, decide, you say the ratio. Actually decide, that will decide the ratio. Yeah. Because, you need a reasonable, good condition to attract all those kind of institution and retail token holder. Yeah. And especially we are building a truly permissionless decentralized blockchain. We want to actually every people can commit a server to be a node. So in my company, not a company because we are blockchain and we organization, actually, every of my employees, they want to become a node. Yeah, we have like over 100 employees. Everyone want to become a node. So when I get this message, I have very high confidence I will attract a lot of users, retail users to become my validator. Yeah, means they can believe that. Okay, so they can believe the token price is reasonable, stable, not like go up, go down quickly. Reasonable, stable token price and very reasonable return. Actually, in our first year of our return, it is over 100%. So it definitely can stake in top. Yeah, and we don't slash the principal, all those kind of things. So in the end, we get the ratio. But the ratio is also decided by the initial token distribution. Most blockchain, for example, like Cosmos, they don't have a reserve, mining reserve, so they have to use the inflation. But in our token distribution, initially we reserved 38% for the mining. So in the first 25 years, we won't have any inflation, so we will release the token from that pool. Yeah. And Cosmos have 7% inflation, right? Tethers have 5% inflation. That's pure inflation and dilute existing token holder. So I would say that's really bad. Yeah. And after 20 years, we will have like 1% inflation. Actually, less than 1% because all gas fee will burn. Yeah. So in one side we inflate 1%. Issue 1% to the token holder, the validator, and in another side, all the gas fee or the deposit will be burned. So overall, the number of total tokens won't be inflated a lot, maybe like 0.5%. Yeah, it's reasonable, good, stable.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. So I see Dr. Mo wants to jump in and voice his opinion. So do you wanna?
Yeah. So I think we're talking about staking and we're talking about the return and the reward ratios. But I think that there's one very important thing that we kind of omitted. That is, for any kind of a reward ratio to make sense, we need to have the underlying token has to have anchoring value, right? So that thing that is something that is extremely strong, and we should never omit or overlook that part. And so for example, for work authorization token, I think the long-term value of any work authorization token should be anchored towards the income flow that it can make when staked, right? So for example, in the state channel network like Celer, you stake into SGN, but the ultimate goal is not to only get the Celer token reward as kind of like a rewarding system, but the ultimate goal is to have, as long as the network itself has a lot of users in it, there will be transaction fees, there will be safeguarding fees that are paid even in stable tokens, paid even in Bitcoin, paid even in Ethereum, that to these stakers, and that becomes the anchoring value of the staking, underlying staking mechanism. And I would hope that over time, that portion becomes the dominating portion instead of the block reward. Right, so the block reward, even for Bitcoin, if you look at the Bitcoin original white paper, it was a stopgap. It was kind of like, in the beginning, let's have the staking reward so that we can bootstrap the network properly. But it's never intended to be that, okay, it's going to be a closed system, there's no new value or new money flowing in this system, there's no one using the system, so let's use block reward. It's not that. I think, I think this is a great kind of refresh all of ourselves that this is the underlying value of the staking token. That is, it has to have an anchoring value to bring external value to the network, to the stakers in long run. So yeah, in that sense, like from long term, the exact initial ratio matters less. So let's say there are like 10 million, 20 million users using Celer network and making like opt-in transactions today. The stakers might actually like benefit a lot, and the anchoring value, the fundamental anchoring value of the token value will increase. So basically, yeah. Not promising any token prices, by the way.
So do you want to? Okay, I think that's all my serious questions. So I want us to be able to lay back and dreaming about the future a little bit. So it's too much of a tech talk right now. So yeah, do you have any questions?
I have a question about my concern of proof of stake. Actually, you may know almost, I guess more than 90% nodes are hosted on Amazon AWS. What do you think? Amazon AWS was cracked. I think most of your system are going to have a downtime. And what's your thought about that?
We do multi-cloud.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
I have answer. I think in the long term, so the POS provider can back to the data center such kind of business. From
I think data center has cost efficiency, so most people still like to host a node on Amazon AWS. But I think it's a problem, right?
I think you should do multi-cloud, right? I mean, we do GCP, we do DigitalOcean, we do AWS, and we are also doing some nodes in China, AliYun, stuff like that. I think that's, for engineering perspective, I think that's taken for granted.
That's the step we are taking actually, implementing a robust system for our staking system. So let's go back to our dreaming problem. So, do you see the possibilities of a node like a BitMain or BTC.com in the era of proof of stake?
Oh, this is really relevant to us because, as I said, we still have miners in the play. Even though so miners now can take stakes. Now, the question for us is, how do we think they are willing to actually stake as a miner farm, right? So the question is, we don't know. And the thing we know is, one, because we're still, POW principally, we cannot do better than Bitcoin. The second thing is, with POS flavor, the thing we actually improve is we can encourage smaller scale mining farms by using this kind of staking to actually compete with bigger farms. So we have an idea that because we are not real POS chain, it's really hard for token holders to actually join the mining game, right? So the thing is we can build is actually connecting two worlds. We have a staking farm or we have a miner farm, and somehow stakers, token holders can actually contribute their tokens to be a miner, and the miner farm can use that token address as a Coinbase address, which will enjoy the benefit of USW. In that sense, the block rewards can actually proportionally send back to the token holders, which essentially is re-implementing the staking rewards in our POSW world. In that sense, the conclusion from me is we probably can do better. We can do slightly better than current Bitcoin world by encourage small farms to actually compete against this kind of BitMain in the new world. But we cannot really say we can do definitely better, but that's our take on this one.